great to be here. And the clicker is working. So I'm CEO of MessageGears. It's a pleasure to be here in the room with a lot of the industry's best global minds. I've been at MessageGears, fortunate enough to be at MessageGears for the last 13 months now. And we're an ESP for large enterprise B2Cs and really focus on their needs. So I'm going to start with this. This was an article in the Wall Street Journal Monday, Cyber Monday, coming off inarguably the biggest weekend of the year for email marketers, probably all marketers. Really talking, the headline is emails misfire for many holiday shoppers. I think this plays on a lot of what we've talked about today, which is that we aren't doing a good enough job personalizing emails. I think Nick this morning at Selligent did a great job talking about that. The interesting thing about this article was the disconnect, though. 40% of consumers felt that their emails were personalized, but 90% of marketers said that their emails they were sending were personalized. So massive disconnect in terms of what the consumer is expecting. They're getting personalization elsewhere. They know it's possible and what they're getting. This is our friend Ray Schultz at MediaPost has this provocative title, Email Marketers Are Bad at What They Do, according to UK consumers. Different data set, but same message. 60% of consumers who receive email said they're not targeted and that email marketers are bad at their jobs. Along these lines, McKinsey put out a really great piece. We're happy to email it to you. Come and talk to any of the MessageGears folks. We'll introduce them at the end. Really talking about the disconnect between what marketers think is personalization and what consumers really need and want in terms of personalization. And this has some best practices, which is really cool. But there's a recurring theme here, right? Our job is to send personalized messaging to our prospects and our clients, and it shouldn't be that hard. Let's think about what email is. We are communicating with hand raisers, communicating with customers, people who have bought stuff on our website, people who have come to our website, visited our stores, downloaded content, and have said, I want to receive information from you. We do it proactively. We can plan in advance. We own all the data. We deliver that data to them on our website when they come to our website experience. And to be able to have time to plan and prepare, and we're still not delivering personalized messaging at scale, is a really problem for the industry. And I think we need to ask ourselves why, because we should be capable. There are some inescapable things that have happened over the last decade or so that's causing our jobs to be harder, without a doubt. One is consumer expectations. Chick-fil-A is a client. They have to be really, really good at delivering the right message to the right customer on the right device in the right context. And they create incredible customer loyalty because of that. And so if you're good at it, it's an opportunity. If you're not good at it, consumers know it's possible, and the opposite effect can happen. Data privacy is something that is a much bigger concern today. We just talked about GDPR, mentioned a second ago. But it wasn't a big of a deal 10 years ago. It wasn't as big of a problem 10 years ago. MessageGears is proudly headquartered in Atlanta, home of Coke, Home Depot, CNN, Delta Airlines, who I flew here today, and also Equifax, which a lot of us know has their own data issues right now. So we're acutely aware of how big of a deal this is, and protecting your consumers' data is an existential part of your job. The trade-off for them giving you their personal data is, A, you got to protect it, and B, the value trade is, I want to get personalized messaging because of the data I'm giving you. So if you don't protect it, and you're not giving them that value chain, but they're giving you something very valuable of theirs, which is their personalized data, it's a big problem. And then finally, we just have lots of data. Yeah, and so we're swimming in data. Some would say we're drowning in data, but marketers, how do you sift through that to make the most of it? So these are the challenges we're facing. And it shouldn't be so hard, like I say. Email's proactive communication against data you have, right? It shouldn't be so hard. Brands should be able to send a list to 1 million people and have 800,000 iterations of that email based on the unique attributes of that individual consumer. One-to-one messaging, that shouldn't be difficult. It's possible today. Technology should be lubricating the skids to make that happen, not being a barrier. And I can tell you dozens of large enterprise marketers I've talked to over the past year have said their ESP is inhibiting their ability to do that, not helping their ability. There's something structural that's causing this problem and creating the issues that we have in front of us, because ultimately we have to surprise and delight our clients. We have to to be successful, and other channels are doing it well, email's not. Some are, but not as well as we could be as an industry, without a doubt. So why is it so difficult? So we're an ESP, and when I think about the job of an ESP, it's really 3 core functions. It's pretty simple. Oh, if I point in the right direction. Define your audience. Who do you want to send an email to? Define your content. What content do you want to deliver them? And then send the email out, get it to the inbox. Really 3 things. Now, we all do a lot of things. We do A/B testing. We do analytics. We do dynamic content, but, foundational things. But at our core, there's 3 core functions that ESPs are responsible for, and consumer data is at the core of 2 of them. So think about the industry standard for email service providers today. By and large, every one of them is cloud-based. I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. Every ESP, except for MessageGears, is 100% cloud-based. So if your data lives locally, and we just had this great panel talking about how your data should live locally, you should own your data. There's lots of good reasons not to have your single source of truth live outside your walls. There's privacy concerns, there's cost concerns, there's complexity concerns. And the vast majority of marketers we talk to, like 95+%, their data lives behind their firewall. So to send successful emails, your source of the truth is completely disconnected from where your ESP lives. I've been running SaaS-based software companies for decades. I'm a big believer in cloud software. It works incredibly well when you install software in the cloud, you collect data in the cloud, and you use that data in the cloud. That's not the way email works for most of us in the room. I've talked to many marketers who are complaining about this. We can't achieve our goal of personalized messaging at scale because our data lives here, our marketing cloud vendor lives here. This is really hard bridging that gap. All kinds of reasons, but then, so what are your plans? Well, our contract's up in May, we're going to re-up. I'm kind of like, what? It's really confusing for me. And this scene often comes to mind from Shawshank Redemption. It's institutionalized, right? People think, well, this is the way email works. You have to work with the cloud vendor, and even though our data should live local, our data should not be a slave to our ESP. And that's the way we're living today, right? But that's just all we know as an industry. It doesn't have to be that way. So when you think about the core function of an ESP, you really should have your collection, your dynamic content creation. It should live where your data lives. If you use as your single source of truth for your customer data, use their email platform. It just makes sense. Selligent's presentation, if that's your source of truth, you should use them. They're great. Truth is local. And you've invested, like the last panel said, that you have customer data. You can't have locally, but it's not in your ESP. Well, so we are big proponents of a hybrid ESP solution. We have a product that sits locally where your customer data and your content lives, but you should send your email in the cloud. It's more efficient to send it in the cloud. So we have a cloud-based sending system as well. It's completely paradigm shifting. There's no data mapping. You don't have to copy your data anywhere. There's no data syncing. There's no data jobs that have to get out the door every day. We use all your data, and we have access to it in real time. And there's no lag between when something gets updated in your local database and when it actually hits your ESP. It's paradigm shifting. We have clients, I mentioned Chick-fil-A, Expedia, Orbitz, Geico, Ebates. Our partner at Ebates, his quote was, "I had a 3-year email strategy plan to get us around this. MessageGears is my 3-year plan now. Like, it's ready to go. I can scrap my 3-year plan and just use MessageGears." There's no data mapping for implementation. We can get live in a day in terms of accessing your data and using and creating complex campaigns around that data. It's less involvement from IT, which is counterintuitive. Cloud software should be easier in IT, but it's so difficult for the data mapping and the data shipping and the jobs. Less involvement from IT. And because you have the agility and the savings for manpower, we have our clients tell us 100% ROI improvement. Hybrid works. So what we're going to offer is, if you're curious or if these pain points resonate with you in any way, we'd love to do a free POC, a free proof of concept for qualified members, and people in the audience. And we can do that because we don't map data, we don't sync data. We come on site for a couple hours, we hook into your databases, and you can start creating custom and complex email campaigns. So we want to prove it to you that it's that easy, and there is a solution. Liberate yourselves. Thank you very much.